Let's talk to the real estate boys, Daniel and Mo, about the inspection process, negotiating repairs, and a little bit about, every week we're bringing on a different subject. And we also have, Mike Williams that's going to be able to answer some of these inspection questions. So talk to me, Daniel.
Again, the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the home buying process, talked about getting pre-approved, talked about finding the right home, talked about negotiating a deal and a contract. And so now we've got a contract, and we're talking about the next steps from there.
Typically, during the start of that process, you're going to have the inspection and you're going to have an appraisal. Some of the common differences between the two is the inspection is basically the condition of the home, and then the appraisal is going to establish value. I know working with a few folks, sometimes they get the perception that FHA and VA doing the appraisal is somewhat of an inspection period, phase of it, but it's not necessarily the case. They go in there and they look at specific items that are maybe in the home, whether it be a range if it's VA or if the appliances have been installed for an FHA. But that's just kind of the process for understanding, the differences between inspections and appraisals.
Yeah, and the thing is if you're getting a loan, an appraisal is something that definitely has to happen as part of the transaction. But you don't technically have to get a home inspection in a lot of situations. You don't have to, but you should. Mike, why should someone get a home inspection?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. One of the things we like to say over at Pillar to Post is, once you've found that dream home, it may be your dream home, but it's not a perfect home. So you need to know, what's going on with that home. How old are things such as the roof? What's good new in it? What's just been maybe installed, like the air conditioner? Maybe we don't have to worry about the cost of that going down the road, but we do that roof in a couple of years. So again, it's where that home becomes a reality, and we learn exactly, the scratches and dings that it may also have.
You definitely wanted to point out some of the different type of home inspections that you can get involved with. Obviously, you have the home inspection itself, but depending on the home you want, as far as is there termites, there's a thing called the WDO report. So wood destroying organisms, which detects wood rot, things of that nature. If the home is on a septic tank, that might be another inspection you want to do. Whether the home had a well, it could be separated, to run your irrigation at your home. Whether the home had a pool. And then if you're looking for insurance benefits, you have a wind mitigation report and a 4-point inspection that could actually reduce your cost for insurance.
And then, a lot of times when you're getting a contract on a house, we'll request that the seller provides a seller disclosure. The seller property disclosure is usually about a 5-page property questionnaire where they answer questions to the best of their ability about the property. Now, you might get a seller disclosure and you look it over and say, oh, okay, everything's perfect. They say everything's in good condition, but you should probably still do a home inspection. Mo, you had a recent experience. Why should someone always do an inspection?
Yeah, I did. So we put an offer in our home, and it was the listing agent was pretty adamant about sharing the pre-listing inspection report along with all the receipts they provided for the repairs that were made to everything that was supposedly done on the report. I highly encourage any buyer, no matter what the condition, whether it's brand new construction or not, to get a home inspection. It puts you're in your best position to understand some of the things that could be wrong with the home. There was a lot of items that said that they were corrected or repaired when we found out that they weren't when we did our home inspection. So there were certain things of wood destroying organisms, the WDO. There was wood rot on the home. Some of the repairs that were made, they weren't that great. The house had been repiped. Well, they didn't insulate the piping in the attic, which was causing moisture to drip into the ceiling. There was just several things that they found to be super uncomfortable, when they were in that phase of the inspection process, which they eventually wound up backing out of that deal. And as an agent, when you look at that, you're really glad that they did their due diligence on their end and they felt comfortable with their decisions that they chose at that time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is about these, like, say, seller disclosures or disclosing about the house, you could have a situation where a seller isn't being truthful about stuff they know about the house. But you know what? Even 9 times out of 10, the seller could be truthful, and there might be things that they don't even know that's wrong with the house, and that's why you really got to get a home inspection. Mike, about the process, how long does a typical home inspection take, and what are the steps, if you could share a little bit?
Sure. For most homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you're looking at somewhere around a 3-hour process from the time that we get there on site, go over your concerns that you may have during your walk about the house, things that you've seen while you're there that you're concerned about, discuss the steps that we go through, and then when we're done with that inspection, we actually have the report ready at the same time. So we're able to go over that with you right there on site. So it's typically about a 3-hour process, give or take. As far as the steps or the systems of the home, we look at everything that we can in that house, short of tearing it apart, of course. We start with the exterior of the property. We're looking at that, the siding, the drainage, property and site type things, what kind of condition the driveways are in. We'll make our way up on the roof, try to give you information about the age of the roof. That's really important, knowing when you're going to have to budget to replace that thing or whether it's time now. Then from there, we'll usually make our way into the garage area where we'll look at the water heaters and some of the plumbing. We'll open up that electric panel, look at the wiring inside of there. We'll operate that big old garage door that's the heaviest thing in the house and can be quite dangerous. We want to make sure even things like that we take for granted are performing the way that they should be. From there, we'll make our way into the inside of the house, and we're going to go around checking those windows and doors, the lighting. We're going to operate the appliances that are built into the house. We're going to check as many of the receptacles as we can get to throughout there. We're going to be checking those walls and those ceilings for stains or some type of warning sign that says, hey, that roof's leaking, or we've had a plumbing leak at some time in the past or current. So again, pretty thorough. Everything we can possibly look at and tell you about in that home. With that said, it's not technically exhaustive. There's really no way for us to be able to tell you every little single thing about a home in that period of time and in a one short visit. But we're going to do our best to let you know what you're purchasing.
Gotcha. Hey, and when someone's getting involved with that at the process, what would be some of the things that a buyer wouldn't know or wouldn't expect during a home inspection?
Sure. Most of us can go through a home and pick out, what's pretty and not pretty, and we need some paint here. This needs to be, cleaned up, or that sort of thing. It's really the systems of the home that are important. Typically the real big ones is, structurally, is the house sound? Is the foundation, falling apart? That kind of thing. Is there a wall that's eaten up with termites or something like that? That could be a structural issue. That can be a big concern. Things like the air conditioner. I mean, sometimes you can go out there and look at that air conditioning unit outside or in the garage, the air handler. It may look old. A lot of times they're not, but they may still be 15 years old and ready to replace. So, those are the kind of things that we need to make sure they know. Again, we talked about, the roof condition, the age of that. That's a really big one, really important one, because those things are super expensive to have to replace. Those are the things as a typical homeowner, we don't really have the experience to know those things on our own. So those are the kind of things that you really want to have, disclosed. And then, of course, there's always the safety issues, right? Are those decks and things around the home that Dad built? Did he build them correctly? Are they going to fall over? Do they have the proper kind of railings and that kind of things on that we may just take for granted, we don't think about, but maybe they're unsafe. So we want to make sure those sort of things are disclosed as well, so you have an understanding of that.
Hey, let me ask you, what's the craziest thing you've ever come across in a home inspection?
Oh, boy. Yeah, that after 16 years, there's a lot of those probably. But, some of the scariest ones are probably electrical things. I have this little thing I'll joke with my customers about that houses get this disease, and it's called the dad syndrome. And it means dad's just smart enough to do things that are stupid.
Yeah.
So, he's looking at the electrical system. Oh, it's just 3 wires. How hard can it be?
Right.
It can be real hard if you don't know what you're doing. So, a lot of the things that we run into that is where maybe the seller has had good intentions with something that they've tried to do and save money. We all do that.
Right.
But it's wrong, and it can be quite dangerous. So, those are the things we try to find. We talked a little bit about new construction. I've run into new construction homes that have the wrong size main wiring coming into the house for the breaker that's serving it. Super big, fire risk there, because that wire is going to burn up before the breaker ever kicks off. So, things like that can be pretty scary and quite dangerous, and something you just don't want to take too lightly.
Right. And then on the other end of things, what's the most unique home that you've ever inspected?
Yeah, again, after 16 years, I've had an opportunity to do some pretty cool homes. I've done large mansions, geometric domes. If you don't know what that is, it kind of looks like a big golf ball, but people live in it. But maybe one of the coolest homes that I've done here in the Jacksonville area would have to be the Red Bank Plantation home that's over in the San Marco area. It's actually the oldest home or home building that's being used as a residential residence still here in Jacksonville. And it was actually built in 1854, which is actually quite old in our area. Most of our houses were built in the early, our really old historic homes were built in the early 1900s because of the Great Fire that we had in Jacksonville. But this house sits over in San Marco. It was originally a 450-acre plantation that was there, and it's an all brick structure. So really cool. They're difficult to do, but I'm kind of a little bit of a history buff, so that was pretty exciting to get to do that one and just see how it was done in the old days.
Awesome. Well, so, we're talking about inspections. We're talking about the importance of inspections. And you were sharing a lot about hey, the biggest thing is that we want a home buyer to know what they're getting themselves into with a house. It could come back with issues and they can decide, okay, we're fine with the issues. We'll take care of them. We love this house. We want this house. Or, they can figure out if this is an issue and maybe they don't want to go forward on the house. Mo, can you talk to us a little bit about the inspection contingency? What's the inspection contingency?
Yeah, what a contingency is basically it's something that the buyer is going to have to do to keep the process moving forward. Some of those examples would be like if you're doing your inspection, your loan approval, you might have a home to sell, some other thing that might be written into the additional terms that's contingent, and that relates to typically your binder. If someone, this example would be you have a $500,000 home, you put down a $5,000 binder, that's your good faith deposit. So if the simplest way I like to explain it is, hey, we have something to do by a specific timeline. If we don't do that, that's when your binder's at risk. So those are typically your contingency issues, and as long as we do what we say by a specific time, we'll be okay.
Yeah, so just, wrapping up this talk about inspections, if you have questions, you could definitely give us a call and we could talk to you more about it at 904-877-1234. But the whole thing is you get the inspection, now a better picture of the condition of the home, and then within that inspection contingency, you could decide whether, yes, I feel comfortable, I want to go forward, no, I don't feel comfortable with this house, I want to back out, or if I go forward, we're going to have to work out some sort of repair allowance, credit, or repairs to take place. And as long as we do things through the proper time frames, this gives you the opportunity to do that and kind of have a good idea about knowing what you're getting yourselves into going forward.